Hello, everybody. So, just very recently, I saw a report from Anthropic about quite a bit of wide survey consisting about 80,000 people. To be honest, more than 80,000 people about a survey on AI, how they use AI, what are the concerns, what are they hopeful about. And I found that report quite a bit interesting. Some parts are concerning, some parts made me hopeful. So, we're going to dive into that research report. So, if you find this interesting, let's lock in and let's get into the video. Yeah, before we see the research report, you could think on your own. You could take some time off and just think, okay, how are things going with AI? How much are you using it? I mean, let's say for us, we are using it a lot for doing research, specifically for data analysis tasks in astrophysics. But what's your specific cases that you're using? Is it just you're only using it as a assistant for chat or something more? What are you actually concerned about? So let's get into the web page where they published this research report. This was very recent, I think from end of March or somewhere. So let me switch the screen and let's get into that research report directly. So here we are. You could find this on the corresponding URL. I'll also try to post it in the comments below. So anthropic.com features an 81K interview. So yeah, as I was telling, more than 80,000 people, and I think it was about 80,500 people. We're gonna see the number soon. So the way they conduct the research is basically randomly select people with different backgrounds, many different countries. I think over 160 countries they mentioned here. Somewhere, yeah, 160 countries with 70 different languages, right? And consisting of 80,500 people. So that you can think of as like a really, really large survey, even if it's not at all maybe representative of the whole population, but it's quite a bit of a staggering number to at least gauge some stuffs what people are thinking about. What people actually want from AI, the top vote is on professional excellence. And that kind of tells you that whoever is doing or using the AI, they're using it a lot for their own jobs. And it could be freelancing work, it could be office work, it could be your own business, right? And of course, the second, third, and fourth point are kind of related together. They explain in the description below. But their personal transformation, life management, and time freedom. And I saw that one of the main conclusions that they drew is like people are using AI to automate things, not to do way more work, but to spend more time with themselves and spend more time with their families. And I think that is really, really positive thing about AI. Once the models are really reliable, we can automate tons of tasks, spend more time doing things that we like, spend more time with our families, get back to check results, think about our own summary research, and then ask AI again to update correspondingly what we thought could be wrong, what we thought are okay, etc., right? And this might be one of the most positive things I actually saw in this report. There won't be many more, I'm telling you right now. I'm just hoping that when people are spending more time on their own, it's not doing some stupid shit like spending time on reading news or browsing wave or going through TikToks or whatever. Given that most people are using this actually for their job, studies, research, I just hope that people are interested more on exploring what they like, right? And not just completely go down the road of consuming AI slops forever, right? We know that internet is filled with tons of AI slops. Anyway, now we can go to the second point that they are highlighting, which is asking people their honest opinion that, okay, you're using AI, but are you getting back what you were actually hoping for? And it turned out that it's largely positive. So, upon productivity, 32% positive rates. So, AI has kind of delivered on that vision. So, people became more productive using AI, which part of me I can understand. So, let's say for us, we write a long form of codes for doing data analysis. And to be honest, a large part of those codes are actually pretty reliable. Even if we use some, let's say, specifically dedicated astrophysics libraries, it turned out that the current model, specifically Claude updated one, 4.7, I guess, and GPT 5.5, I have Claude Code installed, so they're pretty damn reliable. But look at this second vote. So the first one is productivity, but the second one is that AI hasn't delivered. Now that is a bit of a staggering contrast, right? So the first vote is AI has delivered and you became more productive. And then the second one is AI hasn't delivered at all. And look at one of the responses. AI should be cleaning windows and emptying dishwasher, but it turned out that AI is doing more science and writing poetries. Now, that's I think it's a bit of a common cliche, right? That AI gonna do the cleaning window and doing dishwashing, etc., etc. But we have to think what we are actually hoping with that. Are we hoping that we're gonna have, let's say, automated robots, one or two in our home, so that those robots will do those things? Because otherwise, how it will happen? We still need some physical body, right? Physical or metal body to do those things, right? Otherwise, if I don't put my dishes in the dishwasher, of course, it will not happen by itself. The dishes, they will not go to the dishwasher by themselves, right? So that's a bit of a weird cliche. I think we have to be careful of what we are exactly hoping for. I don't really want to live with the one or two robots in my home. I know that specifically it could be extremely useful for people who are getting old and need some assistance, having personal robots. But I think that's a bit of a weird cliche that AI will do the dishwashing, cleaning rooms, and etc. And I will just sit there and write poetry. Maybe things doesn't work like that. What I found actually interesting is that a lot of people have voted on learning, technical accessibility, research synthesis, right? I think that makes sense. And I think all of this, to be honest, apart from the cognitive partnership, the learning, technical accessibility, research synthesis, you kind of can all group them together and put them in the productivity section that we over time are hoping to become more productive, doing tons of work in a relatively shorter amount of time with the AI assistants. Now look at the last point, by the way, which is emotional support. And that I find really concerning. I mean, it's great to have a chatbot that can go back and forth with you, and the chatbot being installed in your phone. Maybe instead of going through some AI slop, TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you are going back and forth with ChatGPT or Gemini, right? But thinking about having an AI assistant as your emotional support and you not being having the courage to pick up your phone to call your friends or families, I think that's a very concerning, right? And I saw one of the responses with the emotional support. Let me get down below here. Um, where it is. This one is so strange. So look at this. My relationship with a friend became strained and I talked more with you. So, of course, these were asked people who are actually using Claude. So the person is writing, my relationship with a friend became strained and I talked more with you because you understood my thoughts and stories well. And I don't know actually how to think about it, but okay, let's finish it. But it was a stupid choice. Look at this. I should have talked with that friend, not you. That's how I lost that friend. I don't know what this person actually meant. I lost that friend. Maybe the friendship is beyond damage control. It's gone forever. That I find is really, really strange. I mean, let's say you have a partner and you got into an argument. You kind of know that it's a bit of a silly argument, either from your side or from your partner's side, and none of you actually have the courage to confront with your partner, but you fall into the trap of this comforting false reality that ChatGPT or Gemini could offer, or Claude could offer, which is that okay, everything is okay, maybe your partner is wrong and you can do this and etc. blah blah. Instead of that, I think we all should think about it, to have a bit more courage to get involved into more discussion, into more uh, just open conversation. I don't know where we are actually going with this, and I'm specifically concerned about the younger generation. So I was born in 90s, and when I go to teach in the class, I often feel like, let's say, the current 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, it could be a big problem for them, and specifically even the younger generations, not only the 18-21s, but currently who are, let's say, 10, 12 years old, when they will become 18, 20, 22, you will probably be looking for finding partners, and I'm just wondering how those things will go, right? And not only about partners. 25, 28, you will probably join a job, you will go to work in many different places, right? How will you deal with your colleagues? How will you deal with some relatively bad day at work with a colleague or with your boss, right? And I think we should deeply be worried about it. If all people have a phone and everybody just just having a bad day, just directly go into Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT for their emotional support, rather than just sitting on their own trying to think about it, rather than telling that to a close friend or a family member, I think that's a very slippery slope that we are going down. And let's get back to the original screen. And imagine you become young adults, 20, 25 years old. Now you're going on a job, forget about partnership. And how actually we will deal with a bad day, how we will deal with a relatively difficult colleague, right? If we always fall upon having a comforting conversation, looking at our phone, looking at our screen with chatbots, that I think is a very, very damn slippery slope, right? I think we should be deeply concerned about it. And since I teach in the class, we always discuss with our colleagues what exactly we are doing about this in schools and in colleges. Are we teaching people to form more groups, do things together, have conversations, or we are just sending them down to this AI chatbot route, right? I think it's necessary more than enough that we have, specifically in the schools and colleges, we have shorter classes. By shorter classes, I mean classes with about 8 to 10 people, where the instructor knows everybody in the class, and with that you could have a conversation, right? Also, with 8 or 10 people in the class, there is a possibility that you could form a strongly knitted group and you will have more conversation. And I think it should be the job of the instructor to promote this kind of group works, right? Because I think other than that, we're gonna have really difficult times. Like, let's say, if I think about it, if I reach 50 years old and who is now, let's say, 15 or 20, join my company, and if they don't know at all how to talk, how to get things done, how to ask for help, I think that's a very terrible situation, right? We should be deeply concerned about it. One of the most interesting things I found about the study is basically this one. Let me get back to this. So this is about the sentiments on AI. So the green circles are positive sentiment, as you can see here. So AI is doing good. We can kind of rely on AI. It's kind of helpful overall. And the blue ones are basically below average. Most of the times it's not doing things that it's supposed to do, and AI will eventually be bad for the society, job loss, etc., etc. Harmful things in the internet, surveillance state, etc. And what I found interesting is that if you think about these green circles, they're mostly happening relatively in the poorer countries. So, of course, I'm from India, now I stay in Europe, but look at this: India, the whole Southern America, Central America included, Mexico, then Brazil, Chile, etc., and then also Southeast Asia, something like, let's say, Philippines, Indonesia, etc. All of these countries that are relatively poorer, all of them have positive sentiments about AI. Whereas if you look at USA, and specifically if you look at the whole Europe, let me just go to the web page so that you could actually see in more detail. So let's say 21,000 respondents and about 66% positive. By the way, so how they decide what's positive? So in general, they have this Likert scale. They bin it from 1 to 7, and when the number on average from a respondent is above 5, that is considered as a positive sentiment, right? And if you see here on the Europe, specifically Italy, Germany, Switzerland, UK, and then here Denmark and then Norway, all of this have below average sentiment with AI. And as I was saying, let's say countries like India, Brazil, Peru, then here Chile, etc., etc., all of this have positive sentiments, even including, as I was saying, no, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, all of these countries have positive sentiments. Related to this, what I also found interesting is the next plot. Now, this is really cool. What they're highlighting here on the x-axis, we have concerned about jobs and economy. So higher the concern, the more you're worried that AI will eventually cause a job apocalypse and we will be jobless and there'll be big economic concern. That's on the x-axis, okay? So we increase from left to right. On the y-axis, you have negative sentiment toward AI. So we go from up to down, the negative sentiment increases. And this I found really cool. Look at this graph. On this lower third corner, we have relatively the poorer countries. They're less concerned about job loss, and overall they have positive sentiments compared to the relatively richer countries like Western Europe, the whole North America, USA and Canada, and East Asia includes China, Japan, and etc. And that is, to me, hinting towards probably a bigger problem, right? I think when you are from poorer countries, you are happy that you have this tool at your hand. And probably a lot of people are already relatively poor. You're not so maybe well educated. So you're probably too busy and you probably just don't have time to think about how AI will stagger the economic growth, maybe. How AI will cause maybe a mass surveillance state, etc., etc. And in general, these countries, if you are from a poorer country, I mean, let's say if I can think about some villages in India, and if you have, let's say, a chatbot, you are very happy that you could get your homework done, you could do some analysis fast for a small business and etc. And you're not really worried about, okay, what happens if the government go full 1984 and we fall into a completely mass surveillance state, what would happen then? I think for richer countries with more education, with more high end jobs, you probably have the opportunity to discuss with colleagues, to have more resources, books, internet, etc., to think about these things. And this I found really, really interesting. But what I'm more worried about is this emotional support and lack of concern relatively from the poorer countries. I guess I guess we can stop here. I would suggest that you go on your own, read the full report. It's actually quite interesting. Once again, also they mentioned that it's not a representative report because it's only 80,000 people, but 80,000 is still quite a lot. And I think they mentioned somewhere that this is one of the largest surveys that has ever been done online. So even if we cannot broadly conclude a lot, but we could still see some signs on it. And once again, how are you using AI? How it has affected your life? Let me know. And if you find this information useful, consider subscribing. We will keep uploading. Thank you, everybody.